Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
More Luke.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This might surprise you, but this is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Saturday night show with the boys. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Jimmy?
What's going on?
Jimmy T, A. Sherrod, Bobby M in the building. Saturday night, the boys are buzzing. What can we say? Celtics with a rebound win after an ugly one against the same Chicago Bulls a couple days ago. They go ahead and return the favor in Chicago. 123-98, ho-hum 25-point win, led by none other than Jason Tatum himself with the triple-double, 43, 16, and 10. John Zannis somewhere is punching air right now. He is so pissed that Tatum dropped 46 and had a triple-double and on and on and on. He's so upset he probably couldn't.
How do you like him now?
Even if he could have done the show tonight, he probably would have made something up so that he would not have to come on here and talk about Jason Tatum's triple-double. He would have spun it. He would have made it into a bad thing some way, but not tonight. Positive vibes, guys. We're going into the Christmas week here. There's enough stress going on. Everyone's stressed out about something. We're not gonna bring that into the Celtics postgame show tonight. We're gonna try to keep it as positive as we can. Of course, you might mix in something here or there, but overall, positive vibes only. I'm going to throw it to you guys because you guys are just, I'll say it, in the spirit of Christmas, I'll say it. Your basketball brains might be a little bit bigger than mine. Just basketball. We're going to start with Sherrod. Sherrod, hit me with
Thanks.
we're going to start with Sherrod because he's the OG, Bobby.
I like Sherrod's point coming into the show. Hit it.
Oh,
Sherrod.
that's true. We were talking a little bit before here, but
this was all about Jason Tatum, and specifically not so much the fact that he was scoring pretty much how he wanted to, but the fact that the Celtics, as a collective unit, decided we are not going to go through our 3-point palooza moment. We're just going to go back to old school bully ball. We're going to take the ball. We're going to go to the rim. We're going to finish, and we're going to do rinse, recycle, repeat all game long. And that's what they did. I mean, they took, as Bobby pointed out earlier, they took 45 threes, which in most worlds, that's a lot. For the Celtics, that's below average. And a big part of that was because there was a clear and undeniable conscious effort to take the ball to the damn rim. And the thing about the Celtics that I think they're starting slowly but surely to understand is that they don't have to shoot threes to beat every single team they play. Sometimes they literally can play bully ball when there's a team that doesn't have a rim protecting presence, like, Chicago Bulls. This is what happens when you recognize a team's clear weakness and you have the tools to exploit that. You can shoot threes all day long with anyone, but there are nights where you can literally play bully ball and win decisively. And that's exactly what they did tonight.
Yeah, 60 points in the paint, I believe. Their season high and third fewest 3-point attempts, tied for third fewest by them in a game this year. So shift in approach, certainly. They shot, 52 on Thursday, one of their worst shooting nights of the season. I believe their second worst. So a clear change in approach in this game. And what I loved about it, Jimmy, is the game wasn't going well early. I didn't like the way they were playing it at all. You had a lot of down performances, Pritchard included. You can go up and down the lineup, and many of the guys weren't shooting the way they normally would. Jaylen Brown struggled in this game. I thought Kristaps Porzingis even wasn't as efficient as he normally is. So Tatum had to take this game over and needed to do it by going to the basket more forcefully, finishing through the mismatches that he got there. And, of course, he was able to rain down the threes over Vucevic and the others late there. But you got a good balance in his game. And, of course, the stats monstrous here, too, with the triple-double. And I think this is only like his third, right? Or fourth, maybe. He hasn't had many triple-doubles.
Triple-doubles? Yeah, I think it's less than that. Yeah, 3.
And he had some great passes, too. I mean, Tatum had some really, really good passes. The layup by Derek White early on in the first half was just, I don't know how he saw him. Derek was wide open, but Tatum showed this was maybe one of his better all-around offensive games. because we know he can score.
Hot
we know
take.
he can get guys involved, but really at the level that he was operating tonight was really, really at a high level, higher than usual for Jason Tatum.
And you needed it, Jimmy. You needed it.
Mm-hmm.
There was some doubt before he got going late in the third quarter there.
Oh, I mean, and again, like one game is going to change everything. We know that, there's been some questions about the shooting from him. And again, that might be a topic for another day. We can touch upon it, but does that have anything to do with the fact that it's the same team and they approached it differently? Like, is this kind of like a little chess match here? Because we talked about it on the last show. We love the fact that there's a back-to-back with the same team. And I kind of wish that there was more of that, because it gives you a chance to look at the film and say, okay, what did this team specifically do well against us? What didn't we do right? What can we do differently? Because we're going to see them again in 2 days. And
Jimmy, in a lot of ways, Jimmy, it really is like playoff prep in the regular season.
Right.
Just like, young teams that like Oklahoma City, and Indiana last year when they got to the NBA Cup, being in that like Game 7 type environment, which is really what that type of situation is. The Celtics still need to, as this group continues to move forward and inch closer and closer to the playoffs, they're going to need moments where they can just frankly do something that isn't a rinse, recycle, repeat type thing. Preparing for an opponent that you may see multiple times, you don't really get opportunities to do that much in the regular season. And I think the Celtics, they did a good job of making the adjustments. And this is what you're going to have to do in the playoffs, whether you win or lose. If you're playing the same team multiple times, there's going to be changes made, and your ability to adapt quickly and efficiently to those changes and find ways to win, that's huge. That's a huge thing. So, yeah, this was a good back-to-back series, because if you look at where Chicago is in terms of the standings, it really wouldn't be that big a shock if the Celtics saw them in the first round. So this again, for the Celtics, this was a great playoff prep type situation with these back-to-backs with the Bulls.
Yeah, and I do think Tatum took it upon himself in many situations, even earlier in the game, to get some post looks, to just assert his will and strength inside there. And it's something all of us, I think, at different points have wanted to see more of from him, because he's so strong, Jimmy. He's a power forward.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see him operating around the rim early, because he's stronger than everybody. He's longer than everybody. And you get to the free throw line in droves if you're playing around there for him too. So I think it was a necessary change of pace. And what did we talk about last game with the threes and that whole conversation? I know John's like, guard the Celtics straight up, don't help, don't come off shooters, try to defend these guys one-on-one. And this is what you need Tatum to do if someone's going to try to defend them that way. And, Indiana tried to take away the three from them last year, defend them more straight up. And he was able to score, 30, upwards of 30 points in multiple games in that series. So he's capable of that. And that's why it's not as simple, Jimmy, as just defending Tatum one-on-one, because when he can make you pay, this is the kind of night he's capable of here. But it was important that he didn't settle early, that he made himself a threat in the lane. That clearly opened up some passing later, as Sherrod mentioned there. And then you get your chance to step back and shoot the threes and all that stuff there too early. So again, it was a good bet. He shot a ton of threes, right? 15 out of 24 shots. But those moments early, those tone setters, the dunk late in the third quarter too, that I think got him going there. All of that, I think, just made it a balanced game for him. And that's what we're asking for, right? No one wants to see Tatum stop shooting threes. He's such a threat out there that's going to, open everybody else up. Mm-hmm. They're going to fall on some nights, all of that. But you want the balance. You want the tough inside looks too. And that's, I think, when the Celtics team's at their best.
Wow, 43 points, $43. Thank you, Jason Tatum, very much for the super chat. We really appreciate that.
Wow.
Especially at the holidays. Now I can buy my Christmas presents. Now my family's going to get a gift. My family's going to get a gift. Thank you so much, Tatum. Let me ask you guys this. What do you like more, the 9 3-pointers that he hit, or the way he was being, more aggressive and kind of, Sherrod mentioned at the beginning of the show, how the team was kind of embracing that bully ball mentality. Certainly he was, triple doubles tonight. So doing a little bit or a lot of it of everything, I should say, whether it's grabbing boards, dishing out the assists. The 3-point and the total points are inflated a little bit just because the heat checks hit, right? I mean, he misses one, maybe he doesn't take any others, but why stop if you're hitting him the way he did? So again, I don't think anyone expects him to hit 9 threes a game, but he hasn't been I think it's safe to say that his 3-point shooting this year hasn't been great. Shooting overall has been a little bit off after the hot start to the season. What do you like to see more, or is one contributing to the other here? Is it like a chicken before the egg type question, or is the shot something that's going to come around and maybe this is a sign of that, or does he need to be aggressive and does he need to get himself going in motion in order to sort of open things up for him a little bit from behind the arc?
Well, I mean, his shooting this season, I mean, is he shooting out of this world? No, but he's shooting about 36% on threes, which is a little bit down, but it's not like, it's not catastrophically bad. But I think the thing that I like most about this was the aggression, because I just think that when Jason Tatum is aggressive, when Jason Tatum is initiating and putting his imprint on the game offensively, whether he's making shots or not, it's going to open things up for the rest of his team. It's going to make everyone, I think, a much more challenging threat. Because as Bobby was talking about earlier, when Tatum is aggressive and teams are trying to play them one-on-one and they're not really helping and all that, the Celtics are unbeatable in my mind. And if you're playing them in a best-of-7 series and you're playing them straight up, you're not going to win that series. They've got too many weapons, too talented. You're going to have to mix things up. And Jason, I think, is still evolving to the point where he can recognize what teams are, as a mantra, are trying to do defensively against him and adapt his game to that. If they're going to play you straight up, Jason, you need to attack. You don't need to settle for threes. If they're blitzing, if they're doubling, if they're mixing it up, then you've got to mix up your game. I think Jason sometimes doesn't recognize what the opponent is doing as well as he should, but because he's so ridiculously talented, even then he can get you 25 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's not seeing the single coverage much. That's what drives John crazy, is that teams are so aggressive trying to defend him. And I think that's what's allowed his passing to blossom to another level. And I think it's made him more of a pass first player. So a game like this, Jimmy, again, how many times this year has Pritchard gone off, or Jalen had a huge game, or, Porzingis has been pretty steady since he's returned. So you have all these options. You have all these guys you can pass to. In this game, he didn't. So he had to go out there and take this one. I'll say it again. I don't think you win this game if he doesn't start going off there in the third quarter. This looked like Thursday night to me all over again. The Bulls were getting their threes off. Vucevic was attacking mismatches inside an even higher rate than you saw in the other game. So this to me was impressive, because this wasn't stat padding. This wasn't running it up with a game out of reach, although it got to that point in the fourth. But in that instrumental stretch there late in the third quarter, it was a 7-point game at halftime. Bulls were staying in like that 7, 8, 9 range for most of the third quarter, and then you see that dunk go down, and then it's just 3 after 3 and him just scoring at will over them. And that's when you start to open up your other game, and he actually got the 10 assists this time. I think Drew was saying on the broadcast there that there were 2 or 3 other games where he was 1 rebound or 1 assist short this year, so he finally got there. I don't really care about that. Falling 1 assist or 1 rebound short is just as good to me. I don't really need the whole triple-double thing. But this was important because I think it's going to get him going. And he's been a little down offensively, shooting-wise, over the last handful of games here into this month, dealing with an injury. I know he talked about that this morning at shoot-around during that 5 games and 7 night stretch there. The knee was starting to bother him, affect him. I'm sure that played a role here. And the games are just going to start to get tougher here, Jimmy. You look ahead to next weekend with the Pacers and into January with that West Coast swing. It's going to get much harder here. You're not going to see the Bulls anymore and the Wizards and Pistons and all these teams you've been playing. It's going to actually be some of the best of the West. Some teams like the Knicks in the February. So this thing's going to start getting going for real here. And I felt watching this game early, Jimmy, they're not playing great right now. Like, they lost 3 of their last 8. That game on Thursday was really bad. I know they had a meeting about the officiating too. Like, they got together and talked about that. So
what do you mean? Go on about that for a second.
They, Pritchard mentioned it this morning to Noah, who's out there, and she's going to join us later, that, they got together and talked about that whole officiating debacle there at the end of the Thursday night game, and we're like, we got to put that behind us and stop. And I felt like you didn't see too much of that tonight. Maybe part of it was because the ref went down, so there weren't as many to complain to. But this was a distraction-free game. Again, early it kind of felt like Thursday because the Bulls have really pushed you and provide a lot of resistance, but they responded well in this game, and it did feel like a bit of a wake-up call game, Sherrod, for them to be like, all right, let's start playing like ourselves again here.
Yeah, and obviously, Tatum, he has to, in many instances, be the catalyst of that type of, change and transition for them. And we're talking a lot about what he was doing offensively, but his rebounding has been really, really strong. I think this is like his 5th straight game where he's at double-digit rebounds. And this is a guy that, again, Bobby, as you pointed out earlier, he really has become a modern-day power forward. A guy that has incredible length, can shoot the three, can defend both on the perimeter and on the block to some extent, and is just able to just amass a lot of rebounds. Tatum is becoming a much more all-around complete player, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I mean, we know about what he can do offensively, and people talk about, top 5 Tatum, but it's the little things that he's becoming much more effective and impactful at, like rebounding, closing out, doing things that don't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, but if you're going to win a championship, you need your best player to do those things.
And like you said, Bobby, Noah is at the game in Chicago, and I know Joe Mazzulla is speaking right now or just spoke, so we'll have some info. We might have some video that we can toss up here in a little bit. Amit's on the 1s and 2s in the back trying to get some content up, but we'll get Noah. We'll ask. I'm interested about the meeting about the officiating because that was I would say borderline unacceptable.
It was so bad that even they admitted it, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, it was
normally they're like,
kind
you
of
gotta complain sometimes, pick your spots. Well, that's what Joe said in the past, right? This time around, he admitted that he got fined, of course, today as well for his whole outburst at the end there. But they all looked at it, Porzingis especially, and was like, this wasn't our best night.
I think we
you missed 75 threes between the two teams. You're damn right it wasn't your best.
Yeah.
Right? And the behavior too. To his point, the behavior was
and I think we kind of let Joe off the hook a little bit on the last show because it was whether it was, walking on the court, costing your team a point and, yelling about just something as small as the
jump ball.
Who takes the jump ball, losing a point over that. Jalen getting another one tacked on, and then a completely different situation, Tatum getting one later. But then the way Mazzulla acted after the game is just, again, I don't want to pile on, but at the same time, it's a bad look. You're supposed to be kind of like leading these guys, and to his credit, it seems like they are taking a lot of good things that he's sort of taught them about, how to approach the game and maybe even life to an extent in order to block out certain things, but you got to be able to check your emotions a little bit better than that. So maybe that's something that maybe it was Joe's idea to have the meeting and to sort of like regroup and say, hey guys, like maybe they watched it back and they were like, this is embarrassing because it kind of was. And it was a bad Mazzulla game. I think we kind of let him off the hook a little bit, but I think he kind of cost him in that game because as soon as he kind of lost it, I think the team felt, okay, well, now we
let go of the rope.
We have permission to lose it. What's that?
Yeah.
He said it. They let go of the rope. The defense collapsed, and the defense was better tonight too. I know we haven't mentioned that yet, but they shut down Levine after he went wild on them the other night there too. Mm-hmm. So much improved. And you got by without Hauser again tonight, which they effectively just shut off that rotation spot and played double big and leaned on their starters more. And those guys sometimes, again, as great as Pritchard's been this year, and this wasn't a Pritchard game. As much as you love to have Hauser out there and Porzingis doing his thing and Brown and Tatum scoring together, this is a game Tatum just needed to go out there and take, and he did that. And he doesn't have to do that often, Jimmy. And I know we got Joe talking about him here, but he is capable of this, right? He doesn't have to do it often. Sometimes we don't want to even see him doing it, taking all the shots and trying to do it himself. He doesn't even do that much anymore, but that's something we used to complain about with him. And so for him to be able to shift back into that mode when he sees that his teammates don't have it in a game like this, I think is important. And it's going to show people around the league what he's capable of as well here.
So we'll toss up the audio right now. I don't know if it sounds great, but we're doing the best we can here. So let's get Joe on Tatum.
Overall, what did you think about his approach, and what do you think is kind of replicable there?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you see a guy play like that, you're just kind of fascinated by it. But I thought he did it within the flow of the game. I don't think he went outside of what we normally do, and that's a testament to him. But just his shot making, his decision making, and then his ability to rebound was just great. So I thought he kind of controlled the entire game with his poise and decision making, and took what the defense gave him.
What do you mean by fascinated?
Again, I say this about him all the time because he's been doing great things for such a long time. I still think he gets taken for granted. I still think his greatness gets taken for granted because he's done it for a long time, and it comes relatively easy to him. And we're in Boston, which is the expectation. But
there you go.
He's right.
Take that down. By the way, thank you, Mr. Nick Gelso, the big boss man. Listen to Nick, guys. If you guys like the show, give us a like, hit the subscribe button. It does help. And also, yes, Nick, thank you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody. We got a Christmas show too. We don't want to over Christmas it. We got a great Christmas show coming up, but appreciate you, Nick. And yeah,
back the magic either.
Back to Joe. Are we underappreciating Tatum? I find that at least around Celtics Nation. I don't know if that's really true, but
I don't know if it's underappreciated.
I don't think that's a problem.
I think he's properly appreciated by at least people around here.
I think it's more he's just kind of taken for granted that because he's done this for so long and because he makes a lot of the stuff that he does look pretty easy, we just kind of take it for granted that, well, Tatum, he had a nice night. He had 43, 16, and 10. But when you think about it, 43 freaking points is a lot. And to do it on an efficient night, shooting the ball, knocking down threes, getting damn near 20 rebounds. You got 16, 10 assists, and that doesn't include the shots where guys, obviously potential assists beyond those. And he did it in 36 minutes. It's not like this guy basically did this in 3 quarters of play. So go ahead,
I'll keep going back to it, Sherrod. He hasn't done this in a while. I just looked. Right. He last scored 43 in February. So it's been a while since we've seen this from him.
Celtics banner 19. Yeah, I guess the Zannis of the world could take Tatum for granted a little bit. But I think he gets it. I mean, dude, if anything, I think maybe Jaylen Brown might have a little bit more of a gripe than Tatum does. But
underappreciated Jaylen, taken for granted Tatum. I think that's
okay. I like that. I
think what Joe's getting at there is on a night like tonight, you look at the stat line, you look at the scoring, and you're like, whoa. Like, that's crazy what he did. He's amazing. And you're not going to see that from him every night, right? But he's doing all the things in between that make the machine go, that get other guys involved, that just allow them to stay as consistent and stable, and boil that all the way down to the fact that he's out there every night, which I think is always what we discuss the least with him. So you don't need to see 40 points to understand how important, how great he is. And the fact that he's out there every night, I think, is probably what adds to being underappreciated, because is he always going to be at his best? Is he always going to be scoring 30, 40? No. But he's going to be doing something that helps you there. And that's what I've tried to appreciate most about him is, we all have our gripes and the shot selection questions, and we hold him that MVP standard, right? So I think that's why we go at him a little bit here, because there are a lot of things that he's not doing that contribute to the fact that he's not the best player in the league right now. So, if you want to be considered in that echelon, you're going to get picked apart, and, we're going to analyze every single part of his performance here. But the one thing I don't think anyone overlooks, Jimmy, is the fact that he's top 5 at this point. Like, that's indisputable.
Yeah, I agree. And, the one thing about Jason that
undisputable is a strong word.
It is. He's right, though.
Top 5
in the
NBA.
Right.
He's right.
Can you name 5 over him?
You're talking about right? I mean, I'd have to think about it, but where is
he? You can name 4 over him.
Yeah, so that's why I just feel like if you're 5, then it's hard to say that's undisputable. Like if you are number 5, then it's probably disputable. But to your point, he's in that category.
Well, there can be a gap, right? Because like Jokic is 1 undisputable.
You got Jokic right now in the MVP. We have an MVP race like super here, so we might as well just put it up right now. Jokic leads MVP straw
Was
poll.
this why Tatum went off?
I don't know. Maybe Jason Tatum ranked 4th in it. So what is it? It's Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Tatum, and Luka. That's the 5 right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Luka would be, the guy in that conversation for the 5th spot. But Tatum just beat him in the finals there. So I think that's a pretty good feather in your cap. But this is fair. And the interesting thing, Sherrod, that Bontemps noted here, and he does this poll every year, is that a third of the voters changed their mind this week and switched their vote to Giannis after he won the cup. So maybe if Tatum went and got that cup, Jimmy.
If Tatum, okay, well, let's say this: if let's say the Celtics won the cup, that would obviously you'd assume that means guys like Tatum were playing well for the stretch of those games. There's more eyes on them. And sure, that's called recency bias. Talk to me in 2 months. If the Bucks go on another losing streak and things kind of change direction for them, we're having another completely different conversation. So it's a fun thing to talk about for a couple minutes here. Like it gives people something to debate. But the MVP isn't getting named today for a reason. There's a lot of basketball to go. At the end of the day, I don't think the cup's going to have much of a say. I mean, it's not going to hurt. Certainly, it's not going to hurt.
I don't think we'll be remembering the cup much in February.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of the whole question people have with the cup is like, what is it actually that you do here?
Did you see they rose the banner tonight?
I did not, but that's
no,
hilarious.
They did not.
It was a basic type font, gray banner that just said
Times New Roman.
Yeah,
they went Times New Roman on the banner. Oh no!
let me see if I can find it.
Times New Roman font 12.
Oh, Jimmy, that is so college essay,
dude. I know. Did they like indent? Like, did they do like the little paragraph indent to start the banner?
It was the most basic banner you could ever imagine.
See if you can upload us the picture that we. If Amit's listening, let's get a picture.
Hold on,
of that,
I got it here.
That Bucks banner.
Ready? Here we go.
You got it. All right.
Ooh,
oh boy, he's messing with things here. Oh boy.
There you go.
Yeah, that is. That is.
I'm feeling like I'm.
Is that real? Is that real? Are we sure that's real?
Feels Photoshop, doesn't it?
Are we sure that wasn't just Worldwide Wob just making that, Bobby? We're sure about this?
I'm almost certain it's real.
that is the blandest banner I've ever seen.
NBA Cup champions.
They couldn't even put Emirates on there, or they couldn't, put their logo on there.
That is so bad.
How would you like that?
I feel like we're being duped. I honestly feel like we're being duped. That's how bad that is. Amit says it's real. He fact checked it. Thank you, Amit, for fact checking it. That is. And I mean, honestly, if that doesn't sum up the NBA Cup, then I don't like. I think I think the Bucks just made all the points needed for like why the Cup is kind of bad. Yeah, but and they're yeah. Anyways,
hey, I like the Cup. Giannis was great, and you know what? He performed at a level that I think was deserving of the shift in votes. Regardless, I know it's a little silly, Sherrod, to say, "Oh, he won the Cup." I'm voting Giannis, but the increase in play and winning 12 of 15 and all that, I do think warranted it.
Yeah, but the thing, Bobby, about the whole, Giannis and MVP and Jokic and all that is winning. I mean, it's easier to get behind a guy for MVP if he's winning. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge that people who love what Jokic is doing and how unprecedented what he's doing are struggling with, because it's like, yeah, he's probably having the best individual season. Does that make him the MVP? Because his team is at best mediocre, at best. And are you saying the best player in the league is the leader of a mediocre team?
Well, Jokic right now. I mean,
let's just put it this way: I will not be surprised if he does not get MVP.
Who
would not be surprised?
Jokic?
Especially if Denver continues to be a 500-esque team.
I think it's gonna. It will come into play. Certainly, it'll come into play at the end. If they're a non-factor team at the end of the season, and I mean, if we're talking about them not even maybe making the playoffs, then I don't know how you could make that argument.
That would be something.
Even if they're in a play-in game, I mean, how does that look? Your league, the best player in your league is the 8th seed.
Typically, you're above 6. I think Russ that year was 6. I want to say.
Yeah, I can't see Denver and Jokic, I can't see Jokic being MVP if Denver doesn't finish somewhere in the playoffs, not outside of the play-in. They have to be above the play-in format. Can't see it
It's
any
just
other way.
hard to imagine whether it's Giannis, whether it's Shea, who I think is deserving a mention here too, despite his slip up in the cup that didn't even count. I just have a hard time imagining Tatum
Never
winning
happened.
it because I have a hard time imagining Tatum ever winning it in this incarnation of the team. And we've talked about this before. I know Noah mentioned it a week ago or so, that they're so team oriented, that they're so equal opportunity that he doesn't get to run it up like a Luka does or like some of these other guys do, to the point where he'd be running away statistically with this thing. And that's the debate you'll have with Jokic, right? Because he's 31, 14, and 10. Just unprecedented stats that blow your mind when you look at them. And a lot of times that's going to be what sways people's mind on this thing. And of course, his on-off numbers are ridiculous. And we just watch him and know he's probably the most impactful guy in the league right now. But to Sherrod's point, when you have Tatum leading all of the winning in Boston that they're doing, and if they're going to be the best team in the league this season, that's something that has to go into account as well here. And again, I would not vote Tatum right now. I can't see him winning it this year. Will he ever win in his career? Maybe at some point down the line, Jimmy, where he's able to carry this team. But a lot of times this is who's carrying their team single-handedly, like we saw with Tatum tonight. We don't see that too often with the Celtics.
No, we don't, and they don't need to. I mean, you're right. The team is not built for. It's not really. It's too good for an MVP.
It's not heliocentric, as they say, right?
It's too good for an MVP, and that doesn't say that Denver hasn't had good teams. They've had great teams. When they won the finals, they had a great team, but they didn't, like, their role players were not as talented as the Celtics quote unquote role players were, right? I mean, they probably had what. Who am I missing? Point guard that I love on Denver, who's not doing well.
Murray.
This year. Yeah, Murray. Murray had a great year the year they won the finals. But
it's interesting too, because Tatum does have a story this year, right? We've talked about it with the Olympics and everything. So
yeah,
I mean, that should be working in his favor.
And also he got a hot start where he all of a sudden he was vaulted up to the top right off the bat. But again, fizzled a little bit. The shooting hasn't been quite as consistent as it should be. But if he can put together, again, more games like tonight, which is not a hot take, obviously he might re-enter into the top there. If the Celtics continue to win games at the rate they're winning, Cleveland comes back down to earth maybe a little bit, and the Celtics can pull away in that East. Now, all of a sudden, Sherrod's argument comes into play a little bit more with, okay, it was the best player on the best team, a team that pretty much everybody thinks is going to repeat. He needs to get, it's funny how quickly the narratives can change, right? It's so media based. It's really just kind of,
it happened this week with Giannis.
Exactly. Yeah. It's who's driving it. So there's a lot of basketball left to be played. It's not even worth having an MVP conversation, but it is fun to talk about. I want to circle back to the game for a second here, because we've spent a lot of time. Before we do that, actually, Ahmed, if you are paying attention, let's do an ad. Let's get an ad out of the way here, huh? What do you say? We'll talk about our friends at. He's waiting for me to tell him. Let's do Prize Picks. Let's do Prize Picks.
Good Sunday tomorrow, Jimmy.
Sunday, dude. There are so many games. Even today, you had hockey, basketball, college football. You can Prize Pick up the wazoo today. And everyone's like, oh, what's Prize Picks? Well, I'll tell you, Prize Picks is the best place to go to get real money sports action with over 10 million mentions and members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just picked more or less, or at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right. That says 1,000. That's a wild number. Yeah. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And by the way, we were talking about Jokic. There is a little thing going on Prize Picks. It's called the Saint Nick Tracker. Saint Nick, you get Jokic on. I'm gonna guess it's Christmas Day here. Hold on, sorry, this is getting messed up. It's a free pick, so you get Saint. They call it the Saint Nick tracker, and it's all Jokic has to do is score a point, a single point, and you win that leg. That first sort of, you got to get them all right to win. So that's one
square
that you got to get a square. So you get your first square, and then you're off and running. You're already. The horses are out of the stable at that point. So make it, again, that's a great little holiday thing. So make your holidays bigger and brighter with the Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Also on Christmas, it's not just basketball anymore. We got the NFL on Christmas, which is, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I think Christmas should be strictly for the NBA, but that's a topic for another day. I'm definitely going to be mixing and matching on Christmas. It's just Christmas is great. You got the family in town, or your friends or whatever. If you're with them, just have the TV on the whole day on the background. Just great game after great game, in and out of the room. Right, grab some food in the kitchen, back into the living room. Grab some food in the back and forth. Get the Prize Picks going the whole way. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's download the app today and use the code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. We're going to be able to play Celtics players on that day, which is great. Makes it even more interesting. It is, I will say, it's a good thing to have. So Prize Picks, run your game. Everybody knows that. Bobby, you
know what I'd be taking, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are you going to be playing for Prize Picks here?
More blocks. Wembanyama. 10 tonight.
10 blocks.
Wow.
The thing is, dude, he's doing it like Prize Picks is going to catch on. They always do. They're going to catch on. They know what they're doing. It's going to be like a more or less 8 blocks for Giannis soon enough. For Wemby soon enough. It's just unbelievable.
He had 37 and 3 with 10 blocks tonight after his 42 the other night.
I'll tell you what, Bobby, we were talking, and that's it, guys. So once again, CLNS, $50 on your first $5 lineup. True story. On my first $5 lineup, I won $75. That is a true story on Prize Picks, just like that. Talking about the MVP race, Bobby, you want to talk about if Tatum's ever going to have an opportunity? He better do it soon because Wemby is coming. Wemby is coming, and when he wins one, guess what? He ain't gonna stop there. Those MVPs might pile up in a jiffy. So if you're Jason Tatum, you either don't care about the MVP, or you might need to find another team because the Celtics are too good for MVPs. They're just too good. You know what though? I think that I was interested to see what was going to happen this year if the players, after winning a championship, if they would kind of maybe focus on personal accolades now because they already had one. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that. I see a team that's just business.
Except Pritchard running away usual. With 6 men.
Yeah. But that's also for the betterment of the team, so we'll take that. But I don't see hero ball. I don't see guys being selfish out there. I see team basketball for the most part. I mean, you can't argue with the numbers so far. So maybe down the line, if they go back to back, I don't know what's important to them. Being a dynasty or getting MVPs, because unless you're Michael Jordan, it's kind of hard to do both.
Right.
But he should win one. I mean, given his talent, given his standing in the league, and just the legacy he'll have when his career ends, guys at his level win at least one.
He'll get one. I mean, at some point, he'll get one just like Charles Barkley got one, just like Westbrook got one.
Who? Tatum?
Tatum. Yeah, he'll get one.
I don't know.
He'll get one.
Okay.
Ever?
He's going to be in the running, but I mean, there's a lot of talent in the league, and there's
something's
young guys
going to have
that
to
are coming
change,
up.
Jimmy.
Something's going to have to change. I mean, the roster.
He'll have to carry them at some point, yeah. And it could happen in the near future here. I mean, we have a lot of questions about where this roster's going money-wise into the future. And more, he and Brown, I think, are going to have to be the ones who do carry this team within the next year or two here, and not just lean on talent around them.
But they're going to need to be different players than they were before then because
but they're versatile.
They needed the help around them. Everyone knows they needed the help. They wouldn't have won a championship.
Remember 2021, Jimmy? It was frustrating, and they were much worse players back then. But they needed to run it up. Tatum scored 60 points in a game that year to come back from down 25, 30 points and win in overtime. So we saw this from him at another time. It's still in there. But again, this team's so good. I still can't believe that. I don't know if I have it 100% right. I think I do. He hasn't scored 43 points, Jimmy, since January. He had 41 in February. But the last time he had 43 plus was January.
Again, it's just not the style to play the Celtics play. It's just not. It's not. And also, how many games are they up by double digits to the point where it's like
he's on the bench,
either on the bench or just not needed to do. Nobody's looking for a hero in that moment, right down the stretch. Right. That's kind of. It's like there's not enough clutch situations, right? But there have been some clearly, but. I don't know. You can't get caught up in those numbers. I mean, I think Tatum has done a better job at giving what the game needs as opposed to forcing something. Mm-hmm. And when you've got guys on your team that have stepped up, Derek White is a big reason why Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown haven't needed to score 40 plus points, right? I mean, Derek White's kind of come on the scene here over the last 2 seasons, talking about a guy who wasn't even considered in the top 100 last year by ESPN. We knew they were wrong, but gives you an idea of just how quickly Derek White has come on the scene. You've got Pritchard now doing a lot of work and taking on some of the scoring onus and those, some of the 3-point shooting.
And Porzingis, it's like
and Porzingis. So thank you.
20 when he's out there.
It's 40 minutes. We're 41 minutes into this show, and that's the first time we mentioned Porzingis. This is why I wanted to circle back to the game a little bit. Because
when you talk about the forcefulness, the bully ball, Sherrod,
right,
he's a big part of that right now offensively. And I love the fact that you're seeing them toss it inside to him again and again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's to me, he's a very important piece of this offense being effective and efficient. And I think he's a hell of a player, as we know. But there's so much more that he's bringing to the table that isn't necessarily showing up in the stat sheets. Just his feel for the game and just understanding angles and how to get the ball in where it needs to be, when it needs to be there, and just not being deterred when you get scored on. You're not going to block every shot. You're not going to contest every shot. Sometimes guys are just going to get buckets on you. And Porzingis, he's done, I think, a really good job overall of just embracing the fact that he's not quite himself just yet, but he's pretty damn close to being, a healthy version of who he is. And it's just a matter of keeping him in that bubble wrap until the damn playoffs, because these games between now and then, they don't have nearly as much value as Porzingis is going to be when they get to the postseason.
Sometimes, Jimmy, I'm watching him and I'm like, is he moving great? Sometimes in this game, I'm like, watching him go up and down, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look awesome.
He's just built like a guy that doesn't look like he's moving. Like he's just not a normal built human being. He's very tall.
And I do think he's still getting used to the speed of the game and his conditioning and all that too. I mentioned that a handful of games ago. So I think as we're into 1 or 2 more games here, because they're about to start getting into game off day again. I think we'll start to see him at his more efficient self and more energized self in terms of getting up and down the floor and having the stamina that we're used to seeing from him. Because the shooting is down a little bit. I feel like the movement and activity from him isn't peak form, right? And he's only 8 games back into the lineup, and he's been hurt a couple of times already. So he's getting there, and the fact that he's already here is a great sign. And I do think they need him more. We've debated this, Jimmy, right? Do they need him? Clearly they didn't last year, right up until the finals where you give them a massive bump. But they didn't need him. They could get by without him. I think another year deeper into Horford's career, I think given some of the rim protection problems we saw early on from them when he was out. And, I mean, they said it on the radio when I was listening earlier, Jimmy. They came into this game 20th in field goal percentage. Can you believe that? they haven't been super efficient shooting the ball this year. And sometimes just throwing it into Porzingis, getting that mismatch,
Because they take
shooting it over a guy and
we know why
nailing
that.
it's the easiest
Yeah,
path.
we know why their efficiencies. It's the outside shooting, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
And it's down. It's down this year. We've talked about they're shooting more threes. That's dropping percentage points off their 3-point efficiency. And a game like this, I do think, shows some good balance for everybody about, just their overall shot distribution. And I do wonder, Sherrod, are they going to have 50-plus 3-pointers per game at the end of this year?
Whew. That's a great question. I think they will.
Why wouldn't they? Why would they change?
Yeah.
I mean, unless let me change my let me rephrase. Unless teams make them change, why would they change? And this kind of I don't want to sound boomery here, but I'm already so annoyed with the 3-point chatter. Like, it's too many threes. The game is blah 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 blah, all this stuff. You don't change the rules of the game because you don't like the way it's being played.
Right.
You change the way that you're playing the game. So if you don't like the Celtics taking 63s a game and you're coming into town to play the Celtics, watch the film, figure out how to prevent them from taking all those threes, and try to beat them another way. Or if you're equipped to try to fight fire with fire, then try to fight fire with fire. Good luck to you. I don't think there's a team remotely close to Boston in terms of the amount of players that can hit a three in any given moment, that 1 through 8, if Hauser's healthy. I like my chances. Maybe not as much with Holiday right now, but generally speaking, I like my chances. But all this, I go on Twitter, I got to see people, all these like cockamamie ideas. And
I can't listen to another wacky rule change.
I'm done with it. It goes back to what we said in the last show. If you don't like how something's done, figure out a way to stop it from happening.
I don't think we've asked you, Sherrod. How do you feel about the conversation now? Do they need to change a rule? Do teams need to adjust? Like, what's going to come out of this whole 3-point debate that's been going on?
No, I don't think they need to do anything drastic. It's about evolution. I mean, it's not like the Celtics are this complete oddity that they're shooting a lot of threes. Everyone is shooting a lot more threes because the numbers.
Greg
Chicago.
says L take. I guess I have an L take. I'd like to know why, though. Why is this such an L take? What do you want, Greg? What's your proposal?
I will say, and I know they're about to rebuild, they're going to trade some of these guys, but if I'm a Bulls fan, I'm thrilled that they went from 33 threes to 42 or whatever they're shooting this year. They look so much better, don't they?
Yeah. They're a tougher team to defend now because before, you really didn't have to worry about when the ball was swinging around and it swung to a guy in the corner behind the 3-point line or a guy on the wing, behind the 3-point line. They're not going to shoot now.
But it is your personnel too. And, they have personnel with DeMar DeRozan. You're probably shooting more mid-rangers. And Pritchard said this morning, again, a shoot around, Noah was there. The Celtics should probably take a lot of threes. He said other teams, maybe you shouldn't take a lot of threes. It's personnel based. And I think Joe said that too, Jimmy, that if they had different personnel, if they didn't have these shooters, they wouldn't be taking as many threes. That wouldn't be their approach. But it's interesting because, when you have guys who are a little down, Jimmy, Hauser's been out all year. He's struggling to find himself a little bit. You have Porzingis, Tatum, some guys who might be more effective close to the basket more often. That's why I asked Sherrod that question about, are you taking 53s at the end of the year? I think
they will be.
I think it's going to depend who's there for them, right? Who's healthy, who's shooting well. I mean, even Drew, we've talked about his shooting struggles, and I feel like he's going inside a little more often now as he tries to manage his offense. So the more I think about it, Jimmy, like, we can't just talk like this is last year's team, because to this point, it's been a little different in terms of how this year's progressed.
Yeah. They just, I think, to your point, Bobby, what they're starting to figure out, and I touched on this earlier, is that they don't have to necessarily shoot a ton of threes to beat teams.
Right.
They can actually play bully ball from time to time, or they can keep with their traditional 3-point shot taking, 50 plus per game. or they can lean on the mid-range and utilize that real estate between the three-point line and the basket. The Celtics right now are a team that has the ability to just basically beat your ass in a lot of different ways. And they are not going to change between now and the playoffs in that regard. The only thing that they have to, I think, significantly get better at is just they need to get better at forcing teams to make changes versus them having to make changes. Because, they looked at that film of the Chicago game first one and just realized, well, damn, why don't we just go to the cup and finish? Let's just attack. Let's be aggressive. Let's, not settle for the 3-point shot. And lo and behold, you do that, you go to Chicago, beat them by 25. They can still beat you by 25 and 30 points and not attack the rim by simply making threes because that's part of their DNA. So they are a team that has to figure out which blueprint to lean into to be successful because they have more than one path towards victory, regardless of who they play.
Facts, my dog. Sherrod, I know you got to get out of here. You got an early flight tomorrow.
I do.
We do appreciate you jumping on. What we're going to do is we're going to say so long to you, and then I'm going to do an ad read. I think Noah's going to jump on shortly, hopefully. I haven't actually heard from her. I don't know if, Bobby, you have, but she is in Chicago. She'll be coming on. Sherrod, any final thoughts on this game or the Celtics going into Christmas here? You got a Christmas wish for the Celtics or anything like that you want to give us?
Same one every year. Stay healthy. And that goes for them.
Health and happiness for the Celtics. Is that what you're saying?
I don't give a damn about that happiness, Jimmy. It's about staying healthy, man. If you're healthy, you're happy. Put it that way.
That's right. Hey,
if you're healthy, you're happy.
You get to a certain age, health is wealth, baby.
It is all about health, man. It is all about health. You will know one day, young butterfly. You will learn one day.
Hey.
No, but yeah, but no, just go into that game and just handle your business, stay healthy, get the win, and keep the train moving, and just understand that there's, there's a reason why you have a bench. There's a reason why you have guys with different skill sets. Lean into that, and finish the season strong. Get those guys more confidence, and then again, pick up where you left off in 2025, and just finish this thing out and win another chip. That's it.
That's it. And on that note, Sherrod, we say Merry Christmas, because Sherrod is not going to make it on the Christmas show. He's going to be giving out presents, I think, to his friends and family. His family. I heard he's got a lot of great gifts this year. He went big for his wife this year, so she's expecting
Isaiah getting something big.
He'll be taken care of.
Okay. You hear that,
taken
Isaiah?
care of.
Okay, he was a good boy.
He'll be taken care of.
Good to know. All right, well, Sherrod, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, brothers.
Happy holidays to you.
Merry Christmas, Sherrod.
Thank you.
We will see you soon.
I'll see you, brothers.
And we're going to talk about our friends at Built. What's up, Built? What's up, Built? People's like, what's up with Built? Bobby, you know what's up with Built. Let me just make sure it's let me give a little PSA here.
Points for paying your rent.
Let me give a little PSA here. You get points for groceries, you earn points, travel, you earn points for all this stuff. We should be earning points on our rent, Bobby. We should be earning points on our rent. One of the biggest monthly expenses. I'm a renter. I'm about to move because I'm paying so much for rent. That's how much I like Built.
If you're in Boston, you better be getting some points.
Built's making me stay because I'm actually earning some points now on my rent. How about that? Taking advantage of it. Built has changed the game by letting renters earn high value points on rent around the hood. We're talking about Boston. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines. Bob, you got any trips coming up? You might be able to.
Oklahoma City, baby. We're gonna go see Joe Sway.
Exotic. And 700,000 hotels. There might be a hotel in Oklahoma City for you. I'm not sure, but there might be. Properties around the world you can redeem your Built points toward. I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't use my Built points in Oklahoma City. Although they'd probably go a long way there. So maybe you do. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment. How about that? And unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/garden. That's joinbilt.com/garden. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you guys. Come on, help us out here. Joinbuilt.com/garden. Start earning points on your rent payments today. Again, guys, like, just do it. Why let the landlord make it all? At least get something back for yourself. First day of winter here in Boston, actually, everywhere in America, not just in Boston. Although it feels like winter here. We got that snowstorm last night.
I'm here for it.
We got that snowstorm last night. You wanna just use that built, earn some points, and just get the F out of here. Go someplace warm. Wouldn't even take you that long. We're talking like 2 hours. You're warm. It's like crazy how quickly we could just be warm and happy. But instead, it's like 30 degrees right now, and it's like windy. And guess what? Speaking of like apartments, I'm not gonna say where I live, but I have a big bone to pick with like the maintenance crew, because it is a sheet of ice all the way down the walkway. As soon as you walk out my door, it's a complete sheet of ice. They didn't shovel. They didn't salt.
They're shoveling yesterday, Jimmy.
You were out there shoveling? Yeah, it's a good workout, though. Gets the cardio up, gets the heart rate pumping.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Be out there late at night and throw on some music and just.
You should come. I'll give you my address. You can come shovel us out over here if you don't mind. What's built? He says, dude. I just told you. Go rewind the read. It was flawed.
By the way, speaking of getting away, Noah's out there in Chicago. I think she avoided the snow. Got out there early before it started yesterday, and I don't think there's any snow in Chicago, but I did hear on the broadcast that it's 8 degrees there. The windy city.
Balmy 8. It's called the Windy City not because it's windy.
Why?
Little fun fact. It has to do with like a guy. I think his last name was Windy or something.
It is windy there, though.
I know, but I was stunned too. It has nothing. They call it the Windy City, but it has nothing to do with the fact that it's windy. Don't fact check me on that, but I think that's true. What was I just saying? Damn.
Well, I got a question for you.
Well, it was important. What I was gonna say was very important, but it'll come back to me. So go on.
So, second game in a row. I think 7th game this season. No Sam Hauser. Where you at on the panic meter?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what, Bobby? You can't ask that question without giving the people what they want and what they really kind of need. Look at this. Are you in Zannis territory where he's like on fire? I don't think I'm there yet, but I'll tell you what. I'm not like.
You're in the yellow, right?
I'm not in the green. Yeah, I'm like floating around yellow, orange right now. Because it's a back. And when you're talking about a back, let's be real. The back is a very complicated part of the body. I don't want to get too scientific on everybody. Here you go. Here's another panic meter. I'm in the I'm
new
firmly
panic meter.
Oh, look at Noah. Yeah, Noah actually definitely belongs in there. She's never had a care in the world, apparently. Speaking of, I think she might be popping on soon, but it's good to get her on, because if she has zero panic about Hauser, then she lacks like the nerves like in her body to feel, I think.
So here's the panic, regardless of the reason.
There she is.
Here's Noah from Chicago.
You heard that? You have no like feelings.
What do you think of the new panic meter, Noah?
I've seen this panic meter before. It's not new.
You like it? You look good in those green goggles.
I'm comfortable with it. I've earned it.
Yeah. I'm not because it's my face, although shout out me. I'm in the yellow right now when it comes to Hauser, because it's a back. It's not like a toe, or it's not like a finger. The back is a complicated thing. Let's be real here. I mean, I've heard. I've got some friends who are nurses and doctors. They'll tell you, you don't want to mess with the back.
And it's still the worst quote of the year, Noah, that he said when it first happened. It's probably just from playing basketball for a long time.
What's the quote?
That's what he said. The back injury is probably
hates that quote.
the back injury is probably just from all
Apparently
these
he
years
does.
of playing basketball.
So it's one of those things where they've never actually said how it happened, right?
Well, nothing happened. I think he just over the summer started feeling back pain, and he, this is just kind of how it goes. Like I don't think
this is how it goes. Like
I don't think it's that concerning.
What don't you?
She's in the
Here we
green,
go.
Jimmy.
No. I'm
Yes.
yellow. We did it. Bobby and I did a post game about this, and I did admit I think this is much more concerning than the Tatum injury or the Drew Holiday knee and the foot sprain. Like of all the things, this is stuck out because it feels kind of recurring. That being said, I don't think that him saying that it's from playing basketball a lot is concerning. That's kind of what they always say. So
No, that's not
I
the
didn't.
concerning part. That's not
I'm
the
yellow.
concerning part.
I'm yellow. I'm
Okay.
not green.
Okay, good.
How could you
That's
not
good.
be? He's been dealing with this since the summer now.
Right.
And
No, we are.
yeah,
And the
So what's
concern, I think,
It's
as
a
much
two-part concern. It's
Yes.
a concern for him, and it's a concern because there's nobody really behind him that can take
I was just
those
gonna
minutes.
go there. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
take it from here.
What did they do tonight, Noah? It wasn't Walsh, wasn't Springer, wasn't Peterson. They just put Luke out there and said, "All right, we're double bigging. We're double big tonight."
right. Yeah, I mean we've talked about it. They didn't turn to any of those guys. Peterson remains in Maine. They're in the G League showcase right now. So I don't know. I guess they prioritize having him over there. But he hasn't been with this team since over a week now. But yeah, Jordan Walsh, Jaden Springer, neither of those guys in the rotation today. Yeah, I think what we talked about last game stands. That's still the kind of the biggest question. If there's a question with this roster, that's the question. And again, I don't think we have any reason to freak out about Hauser's injury, but certainly it's the only thing that really there is to worry about right now. So I understand.
Did you see him at shoot around today?
He was at shoot around. He didn't do anything that I saw. He was just hanging out. So I don't know. He might have gotten shots up, but not when we were there. But he was here. He was actually in the first group that walked in. So I'm assuming he did something.
And did Joe say anything about it today?
No, he did not say anything. But Joe has the same line that he's not sure. We weren't going to get anything out of it. But I will acknowledge. Thank you for the super chat.
Oh wow!
I don't know where this came from. I actually still have not figured out where this joke began. That I hate Jason Tatum, but
it's a joke. You hate Jason Tatum?
I don't know where it started. It started one show when I joined, and I went back and rewatched the show, and it didn't even make any sense to me where it started. But
Wow.
But consider it acknowledged. Okay.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I
Well,
think
it's Tatum himself, so he must.
it's
know.
safe to say that if you did, you currently don't, at least.
So, what do you think
It's a
of the
great
game, Noah? Obviously, it's just a Tatum game.
Yeah, you're
for the
there.
most
You might as
part
well
there.
talk. We might as well talk about the game since you went all the way there to watch it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was probably Tatum's best game of the season, if not best game in. I don't know. It was just kind of a perfect game, and so it was super impressive to watch. I thought the most impressive part was that he didn't start on the heater. He kind of just worked his way into one, and then all of a sudden you looked up and you realized the stat line that he was putting together, and it was really in that third quarter. I mean, he was 7 of 8 in that third quarter with 4 assists, 18 points, in that period, and kind of turned the game from a back and forth to an absolute blowout. And then the rest of the way they kind of carried him through and, finally got that triple double. But I think this was really the Jason Tatum game. There's no other way to really put it. I think even when we were talking to Porzingis post game about what stood out in this game and what what was different than the previous one. And he kind of was like, well, we still didn't shoot great. But yeah, Jason Tatum was great. So I think that was kind of the big distinction. And obviously I think there's things they did better. Zach LaVine didn't have a massive night the way he did the other night either. So that helped. But yeah, it was just really fun to watch in person, that type of performance. Also, I had good seats, but much better than I have in Boston. So I had a really good angle for the show.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch, but I think it just is a reminder that, he's not always putting up these numbers, but certainly I think when he does, it highlights his impact, but everybody kind of talked post game about this is what his impact is a lot of times, and you just don't always see it.
What did Tatum talk after the game? Noah, sorry.
He did. I wasn't in there for it, but he
Okay.
spoke after the game.
Okay, so we don't know exactly what was said, but probably nothing. I mean, let's be honest, probably
Nothing substantial.
Probably would have put you to sleep if you.
We talked to him this morning, and he was kind of what you would expect. He was not concerned about the other night. Was kind of saying that they were just going to go back to the drawing board. He was excited that there was a back-to-back. I would love to look at what happens when they lose the front end of a back-to-back. And, a doubleheader against the team. I feel like they always come back and win, with the exception of Atlanta last year, and Joe tore his meniscus in turn. But yeah,
I know he talked about the knee this morning. Do you think that impacted him to the stretch where he was slowing down a little bit there midway through the month or earlier this month? And do you think this is him starting to warm up toward a heater going forward?
I think so. I thought that his comments this morning about his knee were really encouraging. The fact of the matter is that he said, he's feeling a lot better, which already that's a good sign that it's on the decline. But also, I think he said it was just tendonitis. It's something that they deal with every year. I feel like, it's not super unusual. But he looked a little bit slow. He looked a little bit bothered by it. And obviously today he looked kind of great throughout. The one thing I will say, I think he found his rhythm with not the 3-pointers. It's kind of weird to say because he took 15 threes today and he made 9, and obviously that's what stood out. But that actually, to me, like, he worked his way with the dunks, with the drives. And so if there is a takeaway, I actually think like he and Jalen and Porzingis, they all said post-game like that it wasn't an intentional effort to go downhill, but I think it seemed that way. And it definitely seemed like when they couldn't hit threes, like they were finding their rhythm otherwise. So Tatum's at his best, I think, when he sees the ball go through the rim a couple times before he starts taking threes, and you kind of saw that.
It wasn't just the Tatum show. We talked about it for a little bit, but don't want to forget Porzingis, since you were there to watch him in person. Bobby's a little off on the way.
I just don't think we're
Porzingis,
seeing him at 100% yet.
But I'm not I think he's fine.
I asked him post game if he feels like he's at 100%, and he said no. Okay. I think so. Bobby gets the point there, but he said he feels like he's obviously getting better, but he said that we'll know and that he'll let us know when he's at 100%. And then honestly, I think the biggest thing is that the stamina is not quite there still. I think the rhythm, his shot doesn't feel great. He was like, I'm probably being really critical, but I think that is, I think that, he looks to me like 85% of the way there, which is pretty good considering how much time he missed. But I think he's hard on himself, and he feels like he is going to, make more progress from here on out, which is a good thing because we're already seeing a Porzingis that I think is not super noticeable,
But we're getting, listen, 22-8, 22-7 tonight, 2 blocks.
The blocks are great.
Yeah, and he looks he's aggressive, physical out there. He's giving you like 20 plus points a game for the most part, right? It's pretty consistent in that sense. I don't know if you're going to get 30 and 10 from him. I'm not.
No, it's less about the numbers, Jimmy. I think it's more about the efficiency, shooting the ball, and the way he gets up and down the court. Even the ways they utilize him defensively. No, I feel like they're just having him back in the basket right now. There's not too much switching. There's not too much scheming him off, poor shooters and stuff like that we saw last year. And that's fine. I think they need that. I think it's the reason at one point I looked and they were number 1 at protecting the rim, I think like 6 games after he got back. So I like the fact that he's just back there protecting the rim and blocking shots. But I do feel like once we start to see him used in different positions, that's when we'll know he's physically back to who he is.
Yeah, sorry, I was just doing a little producing thing there. Noah, one thing Bobby mentioned earlier in the show was that Pritchard spoke this morning and talked about the fact of how they had like a team meeting-ish type deal that had to do with how they kind of did how they reacted to the refereeing in the last game. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that, or do you need to move and do you want to talk about it after?
No, I'm okay where I am. I just don't know if it's too distracting for the viewers.
No, it's fine. We like to look at the cleaning crew.
I feel like you're getting a really immersive experience. You really am on the ground here.
Yeah.
I probably could have found an empty room. I was just like, oh, they haven't switched the cord over.
The green screen is working overtime behind you. It's all good.
So on that note, Pritchard said this morning that he felt like they could do a better job of kind of keeping their cool. The refs are not going to be perfect, and that they know that. And I think Pritchard's one of the guys that complains the least about the refs. I actually can't really remember him complaining much at all.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, like obviously I think the stars complain more, and that's just the nature of things, but he's really not, it's not his thing. And he made clear that he thinks that it's something that they could do kind of better with. Joe was asked about a pregame and he was like, I don't think he really wanted to go into it, but I don't think he necessarily felt like it was a huge point of emphasis.
Sure.
And he also was asked about his fine and kind of said, like, those are the rules and that's the way that it works.
Well, he was to blame.
Yeah.
It's
for
hard
the
to
most
defend it,
overt complaining.
Yeah. So I think it was watching that replay. I hadn't watched the replay when he first said the Christmas line, like the Merry Christmas things. I was like, I wonder what he said. And then I went back and watched the video and I realized how funny it was.
Was this Joe's first fine?
I can't think of another one. Not that
because he's normally really careful. He's careful with what he says to us post game. He doesn't he always has like the trite comments or like the quips rather than complaining. So
right.
If it was going to be something, it was going to be something on the floor. And luckily, today it was not a factor. The fact that they were, the refereeing was not a factor. I thought one time Tatum got hacked on a dunk. I tweeted the video, and right after that, he immediately did his thing with the refs, and then he kind of paused. And I don't know if that's looking too far into it, but I felt like
no, I think they talked about it before the game.
I mean, they did talk. Pritchard told us they talked about it, but I didn't know how much it resonated with people. Talked about it could mean a couple different things. But it was clear he made his instinct was to complain, and then he stopped right in the middle of it and just got back on defense. And I was like, okay.
I think tonight was a wake up game. They haven't been playing their best. They clearly got distracted down the stretch of that game and fell apart. And this was them tightening up here. And I hope they can carry it forward and do it over an extended stretch here. And I think next week's a good week to be able to sweep through the teams that they see playing at a high level. But it's probably good that happened there because you're hitting threes. You're basically sleepwalking through what's been a relatively easy schedule, I feel like. And then all of a sudden the Bulls come out of nowhere and punch you there, and you're pissed at the refs, and obviously all the stuff going on off the court this week too that I think probably shook them a little bit as well. I think that was a good night to be able to say, all right, let's come together here, play the way we can. And I find what you said earlier interesting about getting downhill in this game though, and whether that was a concerted effort. I think it had to happen because you missed all those threes on Thursday. This game felt like it was going in a similar direction. And this was Sherrod's big point after the game. They just enforced their will inside, whether it was Tatum, whether it was Porzingis. Good offensive rebounding, too, through some stretches with the double bigs. I love the fact that they shifted inside in this game and, of course, set Tatum up for the shots later.
We're going to do last ad read. So, Noah, if you need to move, now would be the time to do it. But we're going to talk about our good friends at Game Time. The place to go to get tickets to the live events of your dreams. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Dude, we're talking about it's the best time of the year for sporting events. It really is. I mean, you've got Christmas right around the corner. If you want to go to the Celtics, oh my God, toss on the Game Time app, take a look at what they've got to offer. You've got great deals on the Game Time app. They got the super deal. It's just one of those things where I use the Game Time app over. I just use the Game Time app. I'm not even going to mention anything else because there's Game Time, and then that's pretty much it for me. Celtics, is it Sixers on Christmas in Boston?
Yep.
That's going to be
Embiid should be good to go.
That's going to be a hot ticket. If you're looking to do some last second or last minute Christmas shopping, how about that for a gift, huh? Or just any game, really. I mean, just toss in the Game Time app and get your tickets that way. Email them, transfer them on Christmas Day. Hey, Dad, Merry Christmas. check your email. He checks his email. Ticket's been transferred. That's a great gift. They also do concerts. They've got all-in pricing, which is just toggling the feature so you know exactly what you're paying. You can see your seat from the app. You get a panoramic view of where the seat's going to be. They guarantee the lowest price, and they got ticket coverage. Purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Guys, it's $20. Like, help us help you. We're trying to save you $20. Like, you can't really, there's no downside to this. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Bobby?
Game time.
Game time. And you've got Celtics on Christmas. You've got a couple Bruins games coming up next week. So that's always fun around the holidays. And if maybe you're watching the show from a different part of the country and you're a big college football fan, tons of college football games to choose from, great ones.
I think there's a lot of Celtics fans down in Orlando too on Monday, from what I remember being down there before.
Sure. Little, parlay. Hey, honey, what do you say we take the kids to Disney World? I just feel like I want to go to Disney World. Get off the plane, ditch the family, go to the Celtics game. You know what I mean? Like, see ya. Like, all right, I got you and the kids, like, dinner with Mickey. I'm out the door. I'm going to the Celtics game. Just
let's talk about them for a second while we wait for Noah to come back. Oh, there she is.
Talk about what? Disney?
I told you it was called. No, not Disney. The Magic.
Oh, the Magic. What do you want to talk about, the Magic?
Everyone's hurt.
So there's nothing to talk about. Everyone's hurt. What do you want to talk about?
It just bums me out because this is a game.
Monday's game is a whiff. I didn't even remember it until I just looked. I was just thinking about the Christmas game. Like, let's just get past Monday. That's a trap game.
Well, that's what they can't do.
But Magic are almost so hurt where it's like not even a trap game. But
they won tonight, I think, against who? I forget who they beat, but they won. Cole Anthony went off. They beat the Heat, who are kind of falling apart here. But I can't believe this injury situation, Noah. Wagner goes down today. The other Wagner, Franz Wagner, was already hurt. Suggs is hurt. He missed this game with an ankle.
How about this? Sorry to cut you off, but Magic didn't just win tonight. They tied a franchise record with a 25-point comeback. Yeah. They outscored the Heat. They outscored the Heat in the fourth quarter, 37-8, and they won. And they won by 7. So that is a collapse that you will be reading about in Miami for sure.
And our old friend there, Cole Anthony,
Butler
led the way.
Butler out with a stomach illness, according to this stat sheet that I'm looking at here. So, anyways, go on. You want to talk about the Magic? You have 30 seconds.
Noah's on mute.
Noah's on mute. Or no, she's not, though. That's troubling. Noah, figure out your audio.
No, but I want to say, Jimmy, this is a game you would have circled on your calendar and said, this team's given the Celtics trouble in the past. One of the best defenses in the league, a ton of length, a bunch of players you can throw at Brown and Tatum and see how they disrupt the Celtics. And I just don't think there's enough left on that team to take anything from this game now. You're not going to see them much this year. So that's the bummer of this game. And I was reading the other day that Paolo's not even that close to returning. He hasn't even been cleared for contact yet. And I think he went down at the beginning of November. So he's been out for a long time now.
Let's see here. All right, let's go over the Magic starting lineup tonight. It was...
You might not recognize 2 of the guys at least.
Wendell Carter, Tristan Da Silva, Anthony Black. I don't want to say this guy's name because people are going to call me a casual. Goga?
I can't.
Goga Batadze.
Batadze, thank you. And then
Bobby's so good at pronouncing names.
Yeah, he is. He's so good at that.
He was on your Pacers, Jimmy. You should know him.
I know. I haven't said the last name in a while, so I didn't want to just blurt it out there.
He's physical.
How about Cole Anthony off the bench for them tonight, though? 35 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists.
And he hadn't been playing in forever. Is there any chance they could string something together? No, or the Celtics just might overlook them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like trying to predict a Celtics loss is difficult because we know historically it's when the stars are out. I think this would make sense as a loss. Like, I wouldn't be stunned, but because they lost 2 of 3 prior to this game, I think they're going to go on a little bit of a stretch here. I think they're going to go on a little bit of a win streak. So I would be surprised if they lost because of just the pretense of them having dropped a few. But yeah, the Magic being without stars honestly has no impact on me as far as predicting whether or not they're going to win a game.
If he can stay on the court, maybe he does something for them.
They've been so impressive. I checked into that game earlier. When you said they won, I was about to correct you because they were down by so much. I didn't think it was possible. But
you were about to correct me? Oh, That would have.
Yeah, I was about to be like, are you sure?
And very bad for you. Very bad for you.
If Suggs can get out there too, I don't know how seriously he's hurt, but he's a problem defensively. And you mentioned Isaac, Jimmy, and there's just so much. Goga's so physical.
Yeah, 18 and 13 tonight, it looks like. I mean, listen, it's the NBA. You have to show up, right? You can't just expect that a team's going to roll over. These guys are, at the end of the day, they're the most talented basketball players in the world. Sure, they're undermanned, and Celtics are going to be favored to win by double digits. But you can't just not show up to the game, or else you will get run off the court. That's facts. So I'm sure they know this. They don't need to be at 100%, the Celtics. They could probably, shoot their way, even if they do shoot friggin' 30%. They probably
That's a good example.
Figure out a way to do it, right? Noah, I imagine you're going to that one, right? That's why. No, what am I talking about? You're in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
I'm dreaming of going to this one, Jimmy, but I'm not.
Why are you dreaming?
You could just do it.
It's 18 degrees here. Orlando. It's probably gonna be like 75.
Freezing in Chicago.
Gelso's watching. Gelso, can we get Bobby on a flight to Florida, please? What is the guy gonna do?
I'll be in Miami before long.
Reroute Noah. Get them both down there, and report from the Magic Kingdom. You got to wear mouse ears, Bobby, on the whole time. Would you do it?
Yeah.
If we
I
said
was
you
a
have
big
to wear
Disney
mouse,
guy growing up.
Yeah,
I can really see you in the costume for the show.
Way too easy for you to say yes.
No, I'm not gonna do the whole costume. I'll just wear the ears.
You'll just go mouse ears. Yeah, you've actually worn way worse.
That's bucket hat territory, though. If I was down in Orlando, I think it'd be a bucket hat.
That's what I mean by way worse. I've seen it way worse. What else, Noah? You're there. What did Joe have to say? We got the Tatum clip. Did he have anything else important to say after this one, or were you able to chat with anybody else either before?
It was a lot of Tatum, honestly. I think that was kind of the theme of this game. I'm trying to think if there was anything else notable. I think he felt like process-wise, he really didn't have as many issues with the Thursday game as maybe we would have thought. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he thought that they made some mistakes, but he didn't hate their approach the way that we saw maybe after the Atlanta loss, which I thought it was a pretty brutal game, honestly, just the fourth quarter and just the way things went awry. But that was his reflection after this game, kind of comparing the two, that he just kind of liked where they were at. And I think, that was honestly, like, we did 5 minutes with Joe. I think maybe 4.5 of it was about Tatum, and just about how he feels like because of him playing in Boston and because of the success that he achieved at a young age, and because he's been so consistent that he kind of makes it easy, that he just feels he's overlooked, and he's overlooked in the MVP conversation, and he's overlooked just kind of in general. And KP really affirmed that. One funny thing post-game was Porzingis was saying that he thinks his rebounds get stolen from him, and that they give them to Tatum. Porzingis was saying, that
that's such a Porzingis thing to say.
Yeah, I posted the clip, but he was talking about how he thinks that he has to get 13 rebounds for the NBA to give him a double-double. And he's the only player in the league in that situation, and that they give them to Tatum.
So I hate the rebounding thing, and Tatum is in that position now, and I'm not going to knock him for it because I know he's a good rebounder, but it feels like there's one guy on every team who's designated to get all the rebounds, and it's just...
But he's saying that he got the rebounds, they just don't give them to him in the stat sheet. That's his claim. So we got to go back and tally those up, because that's kind of a bold claim. I don't think he feels like Tatum is stealing them out of his hand. That's not what he said. He said that he doesn't get recorded. He was looking at a stat sheet and he was like, again, this happened to me.
Our rebounds, this is just like us, just going to throw this random thought out there. Are rebounds becoming less important? The stat itself.
I think the number doesn't tell you the story. Like, for box score watchers, and I know a lot of people this has been part of the whole ratings conversation. Like, there's been a big discussion around, people aren't watching. I think one of the biggest things that you lose when you're just looking at the stat sheet is you can think that whoever had double-digit rebounds impacted the game the most on that end. And a lot of times guys like Pritchard and Drew Holiday might have like 5 or 6 rebounds, but they actually had the most impressive or impactful plays of the night. Yeah. Right. I don't want to diminish Tatum's rebounding. He had some contested ones, but it's always funny. Like, I feel like the uncontested rebounds where you were just standing there should almost be in a separate column on the stat sheet, because that's counted as a rebound. And so is
battling somebody and getting an offensive rebound that is,
the offensive ones are so much more important.
Yeah, but even really contested defensive ones where you're crashing, and if you didn't crash, and you wouldn't, your team wouldn't have gotten the possession. So
there probably will be, or there is stats for that we'll have to talk about.
Joe has them.
Yeah, there's like stats for everything now. Like we laughed about like the hockey assist stat like 5 years ago, and now that's like a real thing.
Oh, were you laughing?
Yeah, well, we tend to laugh about pretty much everything, and then it becomes like a real thing, and we can't laugh about it anymore. So that's kind of how it starts. But
I agree with this. The tip out rebounds.
Tip out rebounds.
Like the guy that tipped the bat doesn't get the credit usually. It's the person who just kind of caught it. So.
Well, I saw one like the beginning of the game. I think Tatum actually lost the rebound because it ended up he tipped it to like Jalen, and Jalen ended up scoring on the drive. So I mean, it was a nice play, but Jalen got credit for the rebound there, which wasn't really anything. Like, and the reason why I originally asked is because also the 3-pointers. So you're getting guys that are just standing around the 3-point line taking threes. There's 4 defenders just waiting for a rebound, and then it just kind of falls to them. And okay, you got the rebound, congratulations. But there wasn't like, it's like you said, Noah, you're gonna have to watch and see what kind of rebound it was.
I think offensive rebounding is becoming a bigger deal, and I've said it a million times. I think it's the most underrated thing about the Celtics is that they're so aggressive in that area, and you have to be, shooting that many threes. Yeah, you're gonna miss 60% of your shots even on your best night. So you gotta be able to go get them for second chance. I think they're timely with it. They don't get a ton, and I know they always want to get more, but that's an underrated part of their success. Everyone talks about the threes. I think they're at their best a great offensive rebounding team, and I know that's something Joe's been talking about them needing to get better at all year because, again, Noah, if you're gonna shoot 100 threes, you're gonna miss 60. So you got to be able to go get it.
I'm gonna read Noah's tweet on Porzingis that she had mentioned. As she said, Kristaps Porzingis had a funny bit about feeling like his rebounds get stolen from the box score. It looks like they quote. It looks like they stole a couple of my rebounds and gave them to Tatum. I'm the only player in the league that has to get 12 or 13 rebounds to
Look
get
at Porzingis.
So Noah, are you reporting that? Just to be clear, are you reporting there's like a little rift here between Porzingis and Tatum?
Specifically, I know how Twitter works now. Specifically, I wrote that it was a funny bit because otherwise, I know how the quote tweets go and people start to freak out.
It feels like there's some animosity.
In a matter of weeks, Porzingis has gone at Tatum for the rebound.
Yeah,
that's literally how this works.
Who we thought he was.
Exactly.
Cancer room. Clubhouse, whatever they call it. They used to call it back.
Well, we talked about him saying that Brown should have shot the half-court shot a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right, Noah?
And then Brown has been taking them. Did you notice that? Tonight he had one that he missed. And then the other day he had both.
I want him
Chicago
back in
games.
Pritchard's hands, but I'm glad.
Yeah, right. He's like taking them to like redeem himself from that incident.
It was very clearly a joke. Was very clearly a joke.
Yeah. It was very clearly a joke. He also had a moment post game where, someone asked him about how they haven't lost consecutive games this season and is that a point of emphasis? And he said that it hasn't been a point of emphasis. It's not something that they're trying to do, and that there's highs and lows of a season. And last year there was this one time, and then he was like, "Actually, I don't need to get into that post game." And I was like, "What were you gonna say?" Like it looked like he was gonna tell us about some low that they experienced last season. So he's pretty comfortable joking around, and I don't think he's as held back. Like that's why he makes the jokes, but also he's almost like about to say something that he's not supposed to sometimes.
He loves doing that.
Yeah.
I remember last year I asked him why he stayed so healthy at the start of the year, and he was like, lunges, and I'll tell you the rest some other time.
So
yeah.
Real quick,
I'm glad he's back. He's the most exciting guy to talk to on the team.
Yeah, it feels like that. It just feels like he's got the best, like, I don't want to say attitude because I'm not saying anyone has a bad attitude.
He's the least held back. He's the least like
yeah. Maybe it's like a cultural thing. I feel like a lot of the athletes, at least in America, they're like they come up thinking that they should not like the media or something like that, and so they just kind of
not say too much.
Yeah, not say anything, and maybe honestly, like they're probably fair to think that way because. I mean, Noah,
especially in this era.
Noah knows you can get your words twisted pretty quickly. Sometimes you say something off the cuff and it gets printed. So you got to
Yeah, I actually have learned that the hard way like multiple times in the last year. So I can only imagine if I feel that way, how the players feel.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a little bit of a swing back. This is a little bit of a adjacent topic, but I think a lot of stars are getting so PR trained that they're really not exhibiting much personality. And I actually think eventually they're going to swing back a little bit more, and it's going to be encouraged to actually break out of your shell, because I think guys are getting penalized for it. I hear this about Jalen Brunson all the time. People say like, why is he not this big superstar?
He's brutal.
And he's tough, but I listened to his podcast with Josh Harden. He actually has a really good personality. So he's just not kind of showing that to the media. And in turn, he actually takes a hit from it. And Anthony Edwards, somebody that says crazy things all the time, like he benefits from it. He really does. And even when it's stuff that's like against his teammates or things that could be taken as controversial. So I think in the next few years, it's going to be a little bit of a swing back, because stars are going to realize it's actually hurting them in the long term. And I think we're in the thick of that right now, where everybody's so media trained that it's actually impacting their perceptions.
I know you didn't just like promote another podcast on our podcast, right? You didn't just.
Did I? Oh yeah, the roommates podcast. It's a good one. It's a good. I love player podcasts because I always want to know what.
Well, that's the thing is like, why would a player talk to you? No offense to you, but if they can just start their own podcast and say whatever they want and then edit it the way they want and not have it be twisted, that's the problem. It's that it's not a problem. It's just the way it is now. Players and teams have their own media people, right? They control their own narrative. They put out what they want to put out. And now players have a voice that they don't have to rely on the newspaper reporter, and nobody has to wait for the newspaper to come out in the morning to read what was said, So it's the world we live in today. So I don't know. To your point, Noah, I do think that maybe guys will start to maybe come out of their shell a little bit more, hopefully. But we're in a world now where athletes can, and rightfully so, they can control what they say and who says it and how and what platform it goes out on. I mean, the Players Tribune, you can go down the line on athletes sort of taking it upon themselves to control their own narrative, which is fair. But we like to think that we still have, a good. I think you guys have good relationships with these players and can and do accurately tell their stories and what goes on. So the media, they're trying to kill the media, but we're going down swinging if we're going down. That's for sure.
Well, I think actually Jalen Brunson is a good example because he doesn't have a great rep as far as like being a charismatic superstar, despite the fact that he utilizes his own medium to tell his story on his own podcast that's very successful. So it doesn't quite make up for the fact that you have a very kind of stoic, demeanor talking to the press. I think it's still, that's what people see post game. People turn on their post game show on NBC and they watch the little clips, and that's ultimately what sticks.
One thing on Tatum, to go back to Tatum, because we have him on the lower third here, and then we'll probably wrap it in a few minutes. But Sherrod off the top was quick to comment or commend the Celtics on being like physical tonight. He called it bully ball. And I think Tatum obviously played a massive part in that. Is that something that you noticed? Is that something that maybe they could have looked at the film last game and said, you know what, we can't lose we can't just rely as much on, this is what happens when we miss these many threes if we're not going to be physical and not try to take it to the rim.
100%. Yeah, I think honestly, again, because I had such a better seat too, I can like really see the physicality. You can see the fouls not being called and everything. But the fans here in Chicago were booing the entire time and complaining about how soft the Bulls were playing. And a lot of people around me were yelling, like, you're just going to let them push you around. Like, they're bullying you guys. And that was the sentiment from just being here in the building, that the home fans felt like the Celtics were really kind of plowing through them and being the more physical team. And I thought Jalen set the tone early when we didn't hear from him post game, and he didn't put up, a crazy stat line, but in that first quarter, he had 9 points and he wasn't super efficient, but he was taking it to the basket, being really, really physical. And I think that helped set the tone. So I like when he starts that way. I think that's always the best thing for the team, because it just kind of keeps the defense honest. And then it kind of opens things up for everybody else.
What do you think of his standing in the straw poll? We talked about it earlier.
Tatum's?
Yeah, he's
what was he, fifth? Fourth?
Ahead of Luka and behind Jokic, SGA, and Giannis.
Yeah. It's tough. Honestly, this is like one of my least favorite conversations because we don't seem to have a consensus as a country or as a media about what MVP is.
Hey, there's a team in Canada.
Okay, as a National Basketball Association, because some years you have to have one of the top seeds, and if not, it's like sucks that you're having a good year because you're on a team that's not winning enough. In which case, Giannis and Jokic both are not on super winning teams right now. I mean, I know the Bucks are turning things around, but if you're looking at those two teams' records, they're not. Oh, I mean, what's the Nuggets record at this point?
14-13.
14-11. So
14-11.
they're the 6th seed, and then the Bucks are 15-12. So I'm surprised that you can still have that. That can
The
be
Bucks
a record.
won the cup though.
Yeah.
Jeez, Bobby, enough.
I
Enough.
just don't care.
I don't want to hear that anymore. It's over. And I don't. No, did you see the banner? I don't even want to call it a banner.
No, it was so ugly. I thought it was fake. I saw it. I was scrolling through Twitter and I was like, there's just no way this is real.
We thought it was fake too. Honestly, I think it would have been better off for the league if it was fake.
But I thought Joe actually said something post game that kind of resonated with me, is that it's not, Tatum might not be the most dominant player. He's not the most dominant player right now. But that people take for granted how he fits with this team. And I think that's what I've been trying to get at, is that I feel like people have this feeling of like, if you put Giannis on this team instead of Tatum, or if you put SGA, or if you put Luka on this team, like the team would be better. And that's where I disagree. Maybe he's not as dominant as them. And if MVP is like a dominant stats award, then he's not going to be in the running, or he's not going to be legitimately in the running.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Would you rather have X, player X? And
you can't take for granted that a guy in his prime is going to be willing to play the way that Tatum has played, and that he's going to be able to be so versatile and guard 1 through 5 and kind of do everything that's asked of him, and never, like KP said, like a lot of guys, they say they're about winning, but they're not. And so this is the thing. I'm not pushing for a Tatum MVP right now, because I just don't know that he's done enough. But a lot of times it has been the best player on the best team. And I feel like with him, it's not been that. And maybe it's because the second best player is so close, and in fact has been the best player at points. And so maybe that's where he gets hurt. But if he's gonna have more games like tonight, he's gonna force the conversation. It's just that these games haven't been,
right.
There haven't been many of them.
More of an anomaly.
I said it earlier, Noah. He last scored 43 in January, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the fact that this on any given night, there's 6 guys that could lead the team in scoring pretty much on any given night, it feels like. So it makes sense that those types of performances don't happen that often, because they're just not needed. Final thoughts, guys. We're gonna wrap it. It's just about midnight here, Saturday night. Appreciate Noah jumping on with us from the Windy City, which, Noah, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the Windy City is not named.
It's Boston. Oh, sorry.
Boston.
Sorry.
What about it?
No, you finish your line and then I'll say mine.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, well, you kind of blew it. It's all good. It's no big deal.
I think, go ahead.
She knows that it's not because it's Chicago's windy. She knows that that's not why it's called the Windy City. She already knows. Of course.
I don't know why it's called the Windy City, so feel free to enlighten me.
I think it's some guy named Windy. Some guy named Windy. I think it's an old mayor. They named it after a mayor, like something windy.
For real?
I think so. But
it is windy though, right?
I know that it's not because it's got a lot of wind going on.
I just know that I was hanging out with some locals, and people were trying to tell me this is the windiest city in America, and that the wind here is just crazy. And I said, actually, it's Boston is the windiest major city. So I don't know if people know that. It is. Yeah. And then they didn't believe me, and I actually had to pull up some internet searches and show people. So it is the windiest city.
Like a blast at parties.
It wasn't. Yeah. So
I don't believe it.
Look it up.
Boston's
it's the windiest. Bobby, it's not the windiest city in America, because that's Amarillo, Texas, but it's the windiest of the major cities.
It's gotta be Oklahoma, Texas.
What's up with you, Noah? Give us the top 10 windy cities or something. Like
I was looking into it.
Well, forget the wind. I want to.
I'm still freezing. So
what's besides the cold? What have you done? What have you seen? Because I do love Chicago.
Well, I'm here with 2 of my best friends, so we've been going. We had a great vegan lunch.
So we're keeping you. You're trying to go out tonight.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm recording a post-game podcast, actually. New You Got Boston features that I'm doing post-game shows. So right after we're done here, I want to keep talking right on the spot. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, just real quick. Thanks, Amit. Boston's average wind speed is 11.5 miles per hour, making it one of the windiest cities in the United States. Yes. And I can tell you, walking back from like when I was going to college in Boston, if you get stuck in like one of the streets downtown in the financial district area, or God forbid Government Center, like where the city hall is, in like February on a windy night, you would just rather die. It sucks. It's the worst. So
that's the problem. Right outside of TD Garden is the worst. That's why I straightened my hair, because otherwise it gets ruined as I'm walking into TD Garden, because it's so windy. It's like a wind tunnel right there.
Gotta have a hat or the hair is just toast.
Yeah.
Bobby gets it.
The hair, the hat toasts my hair too, so there's no good option.
That's true.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, guys. We'll start with Noah. Actually, we'll start with Bobby because
I'm good.
I want to end with Noah. Okay, cool.
Just
good insight, Bobby. Thank you.
I talked for 100 minutes.
You did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you did. And so did I.
Just an all-time great Tatum performance. I think
it's
a good reminder. All time for regular season games. He broke some record. They were debating it post-game with PR, but 40-point triple-double, the first since Larry Bird. And the stat line that he put on 80% true shooting is the first time ever. So NBA University.
I thought Harden. They said Harden had the 40.
First since the Celtics. In the Celtics, I mean.
Oh, okay.
He broke a bunch of records on Twitter. They were. I saw them all. The music counts were going crazy. But it really did feel like
man, we need a lower third. Tatum, he broke a bunch of records. That's the type of analysis we get.
We saw history tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the middle of my final thoughts, and Bobby challenged my line.
You called it, by the way. She called it.
I was just double checking.
She called it an all-time performance.
Yeah, not the all-time. Nothing in no December game in Chicago is going to be the all-time.
Well, but Bobby's Mr. Bobby would crown it like an unbelievable. Like back in the day, Bobby would take
Horford.
Al Horford game and be like, we'll never forget the night that Al Horford had like 15 and 7 and like the put back. Like that's like a night.
You're talking about the Horford night in Milwaukee that we still remember.
We actually don't. I didn't remember it. You do, because I think you go to sleep to the box score every night or something.
All right. What's your final thought, Jimmy?
Is Noah done?
Is this a night we'll never forget?
It might be.
I don't know why that hit me, because I've written that article so many times about Al Horford's insane night, and it's always he had 13 points and 7 assists or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, just something about when Al has a good game, it always feels so historic.
13 and 7, but the way he did it will go down in the books. Anyways.
Yeah. What's
I don't have any more thoughts. I
I
will say I want to move forward from the NBA ratings thing. That's the only other thought that I had, because that was a question today that was still asked. And
look at this. You might as well say something about Tatum since we got the lower third up here.
Do you have an idea for how to change the 3-point line too?
No, I think we should leave it. I'm not tweeting anything more about it. I'm not doing any more stand-ups about it. I'm not doing any more questions.
I'm so sick of that stupid story.
But yeah, no, you know who was asking about what you think? You know who was talking to me? They were asking about what you think they should do about the 3-pointers.
Who?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody.
I didn't bring it up. Bobby brought it up.
I know. I was just being a jerk. But all right, wait. What did you want to talk about?
Ratings.
You want to talk about ratings?
No, I don't want to talk about ratings. We're done. I have no more thoughts.
You just said you want to talk about one more.
No, I said that's the last time that I want to talk about ratings. That was another thought that I had.
Okay. I thought you said the other thing. All right.
Yeah, Bobby.
All right.
Bobby,
now we can end the show.
Bobby, you kind of put words in her mouth there. You made it seem like she.
No, I misheard it. I thought she said she really wanted to share.
All right, we're gonna end the show. I'll end it with Jason Tatum with an all-time performance. The triple-double, 43 points. I don't even know what the rest of the numbers were, but they were good. They were double digits. He had an unreal heat check level type fourth quarter there that just made I think Scal was drooling by the end of the broadcast. But we got a game Monday, right? Monday in Orlando. There you go. One more report there. Does not care about the NBA ratings. We got one in Orlando on Monday. That's such a whiff game. And then it's Christmas Day. we're gonna wait until we're gonna do a Christmas Day preview after the Orlando game because we're not gonna talk about that Orlando game. Let's just be honest. Monday night, we're not gonna talk about that game.
Why not?
Because it doesn't matter. It's not gonna matter if they win that game because it's against a team that's all banged up.
This is why the ratings are bad, Jimmy.
This is why the ratings are bad, but we don't talk about that. We don't.
You're telling me if Pritchard goes for 50 in Orlando, we're not going to talk about it?
We will talk about that. If that happens, we will talk about that. I stand.
You never know.
But we are also going to talk about the Sixers. I cannot pass up an opportunity to talk about the Sixers. That's that's basically your guys' favorite teams outside of the Celtics. You guys predicted them to win the championship, I think. So we'll talk.
Let's see them at full health. Embiid's back, and they have Maxey and George. So let's see how it goes. If they can keep these guys on the court together for any amount of time, let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes. All right. Signing off. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Sherrod, who was on earlier. Good night. Sleep tight to John, who he's probably been in bed 3 hours by now. And thanks, everybody who watched. We will have a great Sunday, and we will see you Monday. Amit, hit me with the outro.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way. Let's slide Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke